What a bummer. The big news today in the NBA, everybody initially was talking about Dylan Brooks and his just disrespectful talk about LeBron James, and we'll get to that in the second hour of the show. But after that, Rob, the news broke today in what I couldn't wait to see this game. Phoenix and the Clippers, Phoenix Suns, Los Angeles Clippers
in
tonight,
LA.
7:30 Eastern. LA had took home court advantage from the Suns. Looked like it was shaping up to be a very good series. And Rob, Kawhi Leonard is out today with a sprained right knee. It is the knee that he had the ACL surgery on. I believe they're calling him day to day. But Rob, to me, I even if he's day to day, I think this is terrible news for the Clippers because
terrible news.
I just think day to day, right? Day to day with Kawhi.
Over, Chris.
It is.
And it's a shame. I mean, here we are, these NBA playoffs, Chris. You remember how bummed out I was a year ago, right? You remember?
Right.
I was just like, every day somebody else is not playing. I was really bothered by it last year. And then Ja's hurt, and now here's Kawhi hurt. And day to day, I have no faith or confidence that he's playing again. So here are the Clippers who win game one. Oh,
you mean in this series, right. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I don't believe he's playing.
Because remember last year, or not last year, he was out all of last year. The year before when he sprained the knee, or when he tore his ACL, initially they called it a sprained knee.
Yep. That's why I'm saying I don't believe, and I don't know, I haven't examined him. I'm not a doctor. I don't believe he'll play. If he couldn't play this game 3 at home, I don't know. It's got to be bad enough for him not to play. And given his history, given what's happened over the last few years, I would hold, if I'm a Clippers fan, it just didn't work. They tried it. They did their best. I don't know. Paul George is hurt. Kawhi's hurt now. Like, how can you go on, Chris? What is left?
Well, with
how
the
many
franchise,
body blows are you going to take?
Yeah, for sure. There's no question about that. I'm really looking at Kawhi Leonard's future going forward. Rob, here the last several years, actually since 2017, these are the games he's played in a season. 2017, 2018 for the Spurs. He was still with the Spurs. 9 games. The next season in Toronto, when they won the championship, 60 games. The following season with the Clippers, his first there, 57 games. 2021, 52 games. Then he got hurt in the playoffs, missed all of last season, and this season played 52 games, and again hurt in the first round of the playoffs. And Rob, I think that, and I was told this, and I think I said it on the show a week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, that among all the load management, I have heard from people around the league that with Kawhi, it's needed. Like, if he was to try to play every game or every back-to-back, his knees just couldn't take it. And, Rob, we talked about it, and I used it to say how healthy he seemed to be. But Kawhi Leonard, Rob, remember the last 4 games, or last 5 games, I believe, I was just like, yo, dude has played 41 minutes, 43 minutes, and 45 minutes. Here it is, 39 minutes game 2, 42 minutes in game 1, Rob. And then the last 4 regular season games, in 2 of them, he played 41 or more minutes. Now, I am not going to jump on the Clippers. I'm not gonna say they mismanage him or whatever. Right. Because again, much like Zion, I think they're at the point where you just gotta play him. We're just gonna play him, and whatever happens, happens. I don't blame them one bit.
But he was playing well, Chris. It wasn't like he's
he
scuffling.
Always plays well.
No, I'm just saying, but it wasn't like, oh, he's playing too many minutes, he doesn't look good, or what are they doing? He was playing great basketball. And I had asked you about a week ago, is he all the way back? You remember when he had to play in the big minutes, and I said, is he back?
Well, that was after game 1, I believe.
Right. And I thought to myself, my God, like, this guy has really turned the corner. But all of this, the load management, not playing, all that other stuff, Chris, doesn't amount to anything.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. He still wound up getting hurt.
Right. I agree with you.
How many guys are going to get hurt? I just don't remember. And I'm not trying to be the old man, get off my lawn guy. But, Chris, I've been covering the league since 1987. I've been covering the NBA playoffs for a long time. I don't remember this many stars getting hurt every year. It derails the whole thing. And I'm not saying that guys didn't get hurt, but it just seems like it's piled on us. We can't enjoy the postseason. We can't see what we hope to see with different teams and expectations. It's frustrating if you're an NBA fan. I'm a writer and a broadcaster. I'm frustrated to watch. As a fan, can you imagine if you were a Clipper fan going to the game tonight, Chris? After you got one in Phoenix?
In addition to being a broadcaster and writer on it, I'm also a fan. And I mean, this hurts the playoffs, Rob. And thankfully, it looks like Giannis will be back at some point. Maybe Ja will be back at some point in this series, or if they survive LA and move on. I agree with you, and I think we should talk about that a little later. But I want to focus on Kawhi right now, Rob, because going forward, and you mentioned it, you talked about the Clippers like a past tense. Like they tried. They brought in two of the best players in the league. That's all you can hope for. Kind of like Brooklyn. I mean, I will say this, Rob. I think they gave it more of a yeoman's effort than the Nets did. Nets didn't even give themselves a chance. At least the Clippers tried, and they were felled by legitimate injuries.
Right. The Brooklyn had too much drama with those guys. Yeah. Harden didn't know what he wants to do. This guy wants to go back to Houston. Which we'll talk about that. But you know what I mean? What's happened to the Clippers is just the most unfortunate thing I've ever seen. I've never seen where you get to the playoffs. A couple years ago, Chris, they go to the Western Conference Finals. Kawhi can't play in that. Right. Like nothing they do. Paul George can't stay healthy.
It's very possible they would have had a champ, and I'm not guaranteeing it. Who knows?
But they could have.
Very possible they might have had a championship had they been able to stay healthy.
And the 1 year, Chris, they were both healthy. They were up 3-1 to Denver and choked.
Right.
Now,
they did blow that.
Right. They were healthy.
Blew that. That was a chance, and they blew it. They would have got the Lakers in the conference
who they
finals,
match up against.
They won it. Right. Rob, I think with Kawhi, and I get no pleasure. In fact, I get pain from saying this. But going forward, Rob, he's 31. He'll be 32 in June. I almost think you almost have to take the approach wherever he plays next, and maybe it'll still be with the Clippers. But I don't know. Do you just bring him off the bench as a 22-minute-a-night guy, 25, whatever it is? And maybe that would, I just don't think you can. We've seen it, Rob. They've low managed him. He was out with the ACL for 16 months, which is longer than typically. Even when he came back this year, remember at the beginning, he was playing like the second half or, 20 minutes a night. Like, they've tried all of that, and it still didn't work. And to me, this is different from an Anthony Davis. We jump on Anthony Davis. Nobody can control their injuries. But I just feel like Kawhi's got serious injuries that you just can't play through in a lot of cases. And, Rob, I think the next thing you might do is have him be your sixth man. He's going to be the best sixth man in the league. But
that
maybe
doesn't
you
even
try that.
That doesn't even guarantee he'll stay healthy.
It doesn't.
Like that.
It doesn't.
That's the other part that's so scary. And you could reduce his minutes, and somebody will bump him. Like when he got hurt before they went to the West against Utah. You remember that? It was a bump, Chris.
Right.
I was stunned when they told me he was out. Absolutely stunned. If you go back and watch that videotape, there's no way you could look at the contact on that play and say, oh man, he's hurt. He winced. And people saw the wince, but I wouldn't have never thought he was not going to play again.
And you look at some guy, Nick Wright on First Things First, my co-host, brought up Bill Walton. You remember he started out great in his career and had injuries and eventually had to just become a role player and off the bench with the Celtics. He won the championship in '86 with them. But Rob, Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway.
Yep.
And thankfully, Kawhi has gotten to enjoy more of his career than those guys did. You know, like he's
and
been
had a
able
lot of
to win
success, two championships,
been
right?
a number one guy. You know what
Finals
I mean? Like
MVP twice.
Yeah. I mean, he's gonna be a Hall of Famer based on his NBA career. Grant Hill, is he? Grant, I think
he's in.
Is he? Yeah, he's in. But that large
Grant had a
based on
great
college,
college
right.
Duke. He was great at Duke and whatnot, right?
Penny just unfortunately never got to fulfill even really, Rob, a fraction of his potential. Derrick Rose, like this, and again, Kawhi has like it ain't even like Derrick Rose, Rob. I mean, if Kawhi Leonard had to retire now, it would be a shame because and I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but you would still be like, you know what, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He still was able to show us how great he is, and still probably on most people, I mean, he's top 75. You know, like. He has been able to have a great career,
especially
even as it's only been, you know, I don't know what, 60% maybe of what he could have done, 65%.
And of course, going to Toronto, helping that franchise win their first championship, that was huge. That's what separates him, because he wasn't like he just played in San Antonio where they had a system and they were winning before him. He went to a place, Chris, that couldn't get there and got there and won. So you take a look at him and go, oh,
you make a great
dude.
point, Rob. If he goes to San Antonio or Toronto, and let's say they get beat in the first or second round,
it would be different.
We're not talking about him in nearly in the terms we're talking about him right now.
100%.
I don't know if he's a definite Hall of Famer.
Because when you win more than one place, Chris, and you have that kind of impact, that's when people start to look at you. You know, I talk about it all the time. And he won in San Antonio, but they were winning. They won before he got there.
Right. Because Rob, but believe it or not, Kawhi has only had 1, 2, 3, 4, and some of these are short seasons. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be his 6th season, Rob, where he averaged 20 or more points.
It don't. And feel I think
that. I guess he might have been a Hall of Famer had he not won in Toronto, because we all knew how good he was, but maybe not. I don't know.
But maybe the second championship like solidified it. Don't you think?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like that. It was no doubt. Right. Yeah, people were talking about him like he might be the best player in the world at that point. Yeah.
No, when he came to the Clippers, and if he were able to have elevated the Clippers, you remember that next year everybody was picking the Clippers. If you remember, Chris, right? And that's when they were up 3-1 and choked it down, but people were picking that team. They loved the team.
Yeah, they were great. There's no doubt about it.